Hey, you guys do realize there are tins coming out soon, as well as like 4 reprint sets between now and the end of the year, right? And yet people are still spending how much on this card? Let's jump into today's Ion Market. Alright guys, welcome into Ion Market. We've got a whole new snazzy setup here. Hopefully it looks better. Trying some different stuff. But what's more important than anything else is the meat and potatoes of this market watch today. The card prices are just going to the moon, quite literally. Accesscode Talker's leading us off with the biggest... I'm still a little bit shocked. At the time I'm making this, it is $145 at the lowest, and there are sold listings at that price. So there have been sold listings at $140, $145, and it's just going up from there, with the next lowest listing after the one for $145 being $150, and quickly jumping up to $160. So we'll call it a price average around $150, but this is insane. I understand the card's really good. I understand that Sky Striker can have access to it. I understand that it's still probably the most powerful Link 4, and the fact that it's from a set that, you know, still hasn't been reprinted and is extremely hard to find. You know, all of those things sort of add up towards explaining its value, but it's a code talker. It's going to get reprinted. It's either going to be in the Megatins, or it's going to be in Battles of Legend, or Brothers of Legend, or whatever the fuck it is. There are so many sets, and we are just jamming this card's price up to the point where it is almost at $175, and that is absolutely insane to me. If you have an Accesscode Talker and you're not playing in the YCS or an event coming up immediately, I think you would be silly not to sell it personally. I feel pretty strongly about that take. You could make a pretty solid amount off this, and I do not see it staying anywhere near this level the minute that a reprint is announced, which pretty much has to be a lock. I don't see them skipping this card. It was the cover card of a set. That alone should guarantee that it gets the reprint, but, you know, weirder things have happened. I think you've got a very, very good chance of this card getting a reprint, and as a result, I think you should move it as soon as possible to maximize your value, unless you're playing in the Remote Duel YCS, at which point you're kind of fucked, because you're going to need it. But if you have this extra, or you aren't, you know, dead set on keeping a secret rare original rarity, you're not going to get more value, you know, unless it continues to skyrocket. This is a pretty good selling point, I think, to take that gamble. And if I had one left still, I would definitely sell mine at this price, because that is wild. The next one is Sky Striker Ace Rose. This has gone up astronomically. Not shocked by that, but here we are. $42.99 is the lowest listing, with a median price of $54 at the time of making this video, so we'll call the average $50. This is a good card, and Sky Strikers are getting a lot of hype right now, so I get it, but I don't get it. This should not be a $50 card. That says more to the fact that Konami needs to either reprint this or sort of fix the approach to waiting this long on reprints, because you think about the fact that this card was 11 before the return of Engage. Is it that good? Is Sky Striker going to be that good that this card necessitates a 5x multiplier on its price? I don't know. I mean, I'm not making that decision. That's up to you to decide. But do you want to drop $150 on a playset of this? Oof. I don't know. This is some wild stuff going on in the market right now. Sky Striker Ace Shizuku is up a bunch as well, but not as much as some of the other stuff. They are around $17 to $20, with about 20 listings at the time of this video. There have been sold listings between 17 and 25, so they are moving. I don't know if people tried to buy them out and just didn't quite get there, or what's going on, but ultimately it is up a bunch from its, you know, $7 to $8 price point before, nearly tripling since the announcement of Engage returning. Obviously, Shizuku is one of the best cards the deck has access to, and this is the highest rarity, quote-unquote, outside of ulti, so if you're not looking to spend over $200 on the ulti, you're kind of fucked having to pay a premium on this, but not a bad card if you have some laying around. The super rares, from what it's worth, from Dark Saviors are around $8 to $10, so they are still somewhat affordable, but definitely pricey considering. Sky Striker Ace Hayate, moving down that same rabbit hole, if you will, is about $10 to $15. It does range a little bit. It looks like people are trying to make some quick sales if you check out TCG, but the most recent sold listings range from $14 to $10 to $11, so it's right in that $12 range we'll put on average. This card is really good and can basically get your Engage to the grave. That way you're able to recur it back to hand with other things, so it's a way to sort of get around that limit that Engage has going on. Hayate as a whole is not only pricey in secret, the ultimate rare is up as well, about $75. Just some food for thought. I can't believe I'm saying this looks like it might be a bargain, but considering the fact that all the other ulti Sky Strikers have easily gone to the moon, as if you will. Hayate feels like it might be a decent price at 70 to consider long term. However, it really depends. I don't know what the growth is going to be like for this, and I would definitely say invest at your own risk. But if you're the type of person who wants to go for the max rarity Sky Strikers and money isn't an object to you, you could probably do worse than 75. There is a chance that this could see long-term growth on the level of the other Sky Strikers, but time remains to be seen on that one. Moving on, Sky Striker Ace Ray from Mega Pack is up to about $5. Some have sold as high as $7, actually. So there's a decent range there with a median price of around $7. Obviously, this is the max rarity. It did come secret rare in Battles of Legend as well, so you have a couple of different ways to get it, but this is the prismatic secret, so it's the highest rarity. A 3-up in the deck, I would think, and just overall a fan favorite card. So if you missed out on the boat to get Ray when they were a little bit cheaper, people did talk about picking them up. The supers are still under $1, so you have some flexibility there, but overall, if you want to go highest rarity, you're going to be paying a bit more than you would have even a week or two ago before the announcement. Sky Striker Ace Zeke Ultra from Dual Overload. I'm not really sure how pertinent this is in the deck because I'm not a Sky Striker expert, but it is $5, up from about $2 before. It's definitely making some sales versus its market price with a low amount of listings as well, so I'm not sure where its long-term is going to end up, but it could be worth grabbing if you plan on playing one in the deck and you don't have any currently. You could, get it for about $5 with shipping included on TCG Player. The card that needs to just go the fuck away, Mystic Mine, is up in price, of course, because Sky Striker is going to use it. The lowest is $13.50 on TCG Player with an average price of around $14-15, so we'll call it $14 for the purpose of the video. I despise this card and want it to be limited or moved or whatever. I think it's degenerate. I think it's, it's just not good for the game because it just completely promotes an unhealthy style of gameplay, but for now it's here. If you want it, you're going to have to pay for it. But like I said, about $14-ish on the secrets and around $10 on supers, so none of them are quote-unquote cheap, but the card, as we know, is extremely powerful. I don't often talk too much about high rarity stuff just because it's basically like, yeah, it's money, it's what it is. But Droll and Lockbird Ultimate Rare is up a bunch to $250 is the lowest. I've seen some near mint sales for around $350, so the price is going haywire. It's an insanely good card, even better now that Sky Striker is coming back into the format. Droll and Lockbird Ulti, even though I don't personally think it looks all that great, I've always just thought the Ulti was kind of lackluster compared to what we've seen on some of the other Ultimate hand traps, but it's still the highest rarity. People are going to chase it down, and people will like it. There are some listings around $250 at the time of this listing, but not too many, and it does seem like they are moving quickly. So if you're a high rarity collector and or have been chomping at the bit to get ulti Droll and Locks, I think just seeing trends. I mean, Nibiru went up a ton, the buyout wasn't sustainable, and it fell back out, but Nibiru is also more recent than this by about 5 Astral Packs, or OTS Packs, whatever, sorry, and that is going to be around the same thing. So, will this fall out? I think it's possible, but I wouldn't bank on it, and even if it does, I don't think it's going to go crazy low. Underworld Goddess of the Closed World is finally starting to see a little bit of traction, moving up to around $25. It's a good card that just doesn't see a bunch of play. This was actually as low as 18 for a bit on TCG Player. I saw a few listings around 16, so I think some people were trying to make competing sales, but those low-end listings have been cleared out. I wouldn't call this a buyout or anything, but they are $24 at the cheapest now with an average price of $30, so it looks like it could be on the way up, and we know it's not going to get reprinted in the Megatins this year, so it's a relatively safe investment if you don't have one. I think long-term this card's growth will be pretty solid, especially if when it does inevitably get reprinted, it is in a lower rarity than what it is currently. Redbeard Plunder Patrol Matey is a decent card that is seeing some prices rise slowly but surely to about $10. The reason I point this card out, as well as the next couple cards we're going to talk about, is with Dawn of Majesty on the horizon, it's very possible we see more Plunder Patrol support. That's not confirmed, it's just speculation on my part. I'd like to think that they're not done with the archetype yet, and these cards may miss the Megatins because typically TCG exclusives have missed the tins on most circumstances, with the exception of Danger. Danger was obviously a bit of a unique circumstance because the archetype was seeing so much play and the prices were so high that they had to do something to kind of get that out there. But the Plunder Patrol could go a very different path. Whitebeard as well is around the same price, about $10 to $11, and both of these are really, really solid essential cards for the deck. So if they miss the tins, the price could go up as a result. If you have interest in the deck and want to play it perhaps at a, at a future date or what have you, maybe now is the time to look at grabbing the play sets because they are relatively cheap compared to what they are. Now, they could be in the megatins, and then I'll look silly here, but typically history shows Konami is often going to skip a lot of the TCG exclusives, so it remains to be seen if you want to take that gamble. Animador and Argosaur is down in price, and it's wonderful to see because fuck Miscellaneousaurus. This card, there's actually listings as low as $50. I think you might see it fall out even more, especially if a reprint does come. It's an insanely good card, but Dinos took a huge hit, and we do know this card is on the horizon for a potential reprint. Most things likely will get reprinted in the coming slate of products, so you just kind of have to weigh the pros and cons. But if you had these and you unloaded them at a high price, then you're probably sitting pretty. If not, at this point, I mean, I'd say you probably just hold on to them or, move them if you want to move them, but I don't think the price is going to dip too much, at least until a reprint is confirmed. One card I did want to point out quick on the channel today on Ion Market is Blizzard, super rare. Now, I don't know whether or not this is actually going to come to fruition at all, but people have talked about this as a potential counter to Sky Striker. Obviously, negating Engage with it, and then they can't play Engage for the rest of the turn. You can stop them from getting a lot of their combo pieces. Also works on some other spells like Widow Anchor and whatnot, so if Sky Striker is going to be that prevalent, this might be a card you could say, hey, this is going to allow me to really put pressure on him and stop him and win on my next turn, stop him from getting set up. So it's a wicked cheap penny stock at around 50 cents from Rise of the Duelist. I don't know that it's going to skyrocket or anything like that, but prices have relatively chilled out on it, and I think it might be something just to keep an eye on as a penny stock because of how cheap it is. And finally today, Plunder Patrol Ship Merc is around $2, as well as Plunder Patrol Ship Bran around $2. Both of these cards are insanely cheap, and I do think that if they miss the tins, they could rise over time. It's a big if game, because we really don't know where they're going to slate reprints, but these are both really good cards. Plunder Patrol is a deck people like, and if they do get more support down the road, obviously these cards will be part of the strategy. So, with them being around $2 a piece, you could do worse than picking up a set and seeing where that takes you. I think it's a good thing to keep your eyes on as hard. It's right now it's kind of hard to find penny stocks just to see where you should be investing, what types of things you could pick up cheap with so many reprints looming, and these are relatively risk-free, so that's why I wanted to throw those out there. But that's going to do it for today's Ion Market. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please stop buying out Accesscode Talker. I don't think it needs to get any higher than it already is, and if you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video.